Hello there. I'm Reverend Kate from the Center for Spiritual Living in Carlsbad. It's a church centered in our commitment to teach, demonstrate, and inspire a positive approach to living. So our home may be in Carlsbad, California, but the ideas of new thought are available to you wherever you are. So my message today is about shedding and sharing. Sounds like two different words, but really they're quite similar. In the English language, we have a number of words that actually mean two different things that are opposite of each other. So shedding might mean putting everything in a shed to store it, or it also might mean giving away, as in when a tree sheds its leaves, or when a light sheds its light. And sharing, of course, is usually a two-way street, meaning we share to others and we also receive when others share to us. So we share in the good, we partake of it, and we share our good, we give it away. So sharing and shedding are the perfect topics in my mind for November, which is a month that we have dedicated to the ideas of gratitude, gratitude beyond gifts. It's always a question. What shall we do? Shall we shed things, keep them, shed things, get rid of them? Well, if you know me personally, you're probably saying to yourself, "Oh, Kate, time to give it away. You've got too much stuff hanging around." And I am an attractor of stuff. And it's true for most people who are fairly prosperous. And actually, it's often also true for a lot of people who really don't have much money. Still, it can often seem like they accumulate too much stuff. There's even a reality TV show called Hoarders that shows people who have collected so much clutter in their homes that there's simply no room for themselves. And actually, although it's kind of an odd show, the show is about making change, accepting help and making changes and getting one's life back in balance. And that's one of the things that we're always, all of us, striving to do in our lives, right? Get things back in balance. And we all have different issues that might be confusing our lives or making it so we're not clear really on the truth that there's good for us. And it's almost as if there's a blockage in our lives. Like we can't see the sun for the clouds. But what I want to focus on today is the fact that whether you have too much stuff or whether you don't have enough stuff, whether you feel like you have too many obligations, or whether you feel like you're not giving enough or sharing enough, whatever situation you're going through that may seem confusing, it's actually not the deep primary cause. Just like the clouds are transitory, the things that you experience in your life are also transitory, subject to change. And It may sometimes seem like things have gotten out of hand, just like the weather can sometimes get out of hand. But even though it seems like the world is full of suffering sometimes, or that your own life may be filled with some suffering sometimes. And I don't want to seem callous about this because I really care a lot about other people in the world, what's going on in the world, the challenges that we share, and also each person's individual challenge. And yet, the truth is that these are transitory situations, subject to change. They're not representative of the real truth about life or the underlying truth about life, the underlying cause. You know, you could call it really any type of suffering, not just having too much or too little. You could cause it a secondary cause, as it does result in consequences. Yes, one thing leads to another. It snowballs. But the snowball doesn't cause the snowball. The snowball is a result of something else. So yes, it's the movement down the hill, gathering more snow and growing. That's an example of a secondary cause. Yes, it could have a big effect. But if you want to avoid being in the path of a big rolling snowball, you need to figure out the real causes, the cause of its formation or manifestation in the first place, and also take steps to get out of its path, right? These are practical, day-to-day steps that you can take, because the underlying truth is that the snowball doesn't cause the snowball. Poverty doesn't cause poverty. Wealth doesn't cause wealth. Yet, at the same time, the old saying, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, does appear to be true. And it is even rooted in a Bible lesson from Matthew. But still, we're talking about, in our personal lives, we're talking about transitory conditions. It's true in the same way that a snowball rolling down a hill can get bigger. It's a result of patterns or tendencies that have been set in motions and that have natural consequences. So, what causes a snowball? Well, it could be the weather. Or here I've found a picture from Renaissance Italy of just a family making their own snowballs and having fun playing in the snow. You see, we think my earlier picture of a snowball was something scary, like an avalanche. This picture of a snowball is something happy. What's the difference? The difference is the pattern of life that is set into motion for whatever reason. So, if you want to truly change your experience of life, you need to seek something beyond the day-to-day management of day-to-day experiences. I found this cartoon about, The feeling that I have certainly experienced, and I bet a lot of you have too, where it feels like life is just a continual cycle of putting out fires. It's like, oh, there's this thing to deal with and that thing to deal with. And, you're just always fighting the mishaps, always dealing with things that are springing up, challenges, unexpected, or maybe not so unexpected, but perhaps neglected things, tendencies that were simmering behind the scenes, and suddenly they pop up with their consequences, secondary consequences. If we really want to change what is going on in our lives and stop being metaphorical firefighters, if we want to change what is going on in a permanent way, we have to change the tendencies or patterns that are the underlying causes of our experience. Yes, things matter in day to day. If you have a problem with hoarding, well, you can look at the reality TV show's website. They've got a lot of tips. If you'd like to become better at budgeting, you can start balancing your checking account more carefully. If you would like to make a career change, you could start looking at new opportunities. Yes. If things are on fire, take action. I'm not talking about not taking action. We have to respond to life moment by moment. But I hate to say this, even though you should and need to respond moment by moment, it's not enough. Whatever you do won't be enough, but you still have to do it. Although those little things that you do won't solve everything, they can create the mental space to help you think things through at a deeper level. Sometimes we just need to cool off, calm down, put out all the fires that are consuming us, and just get a sense of calm. Gather our thoughts together. Stop the snowballing effect by stopping our thoughts. Yes, in the day-to-day of life, we deal with whatever. I wash the dishes. I sort the mail. I feed the pets. I pay the bills. I call a friend. I write a list. I live in the now. This is true for you also. We live in the now. We live in the moment. We need to be alert, but in this moment of now, in which we live and have our being, the only moment in which we're really experiencing life now, in this moment, it is our thoughts that determine whether we are happy or not, whether we are satisfied or not, whether we feel like we're headed in the direction we want to go or not. It is our thoughts that determine whether we will move forward in life towards greater happiness or towards greater sadness. So I've just put, cartoon representations of the emotions that we feel, representing the thoughts that we can have, And a lot of times these thoughts rise up for us from our unconscious, especially when we're so tied up and so caught up in the day-to-day that we don't stop and take a moment to think. If we don't pay attention, we're still thinking, right? We're still having thoughts. They may be thoughts about worry or anxiety, but they're still thoughts. They may be thoughts about everybody likes me or everybody doesn't like me. They're still thoughts, whether they're unconscious or conscious. It's our thoughts that determine the patterns in our lives. And my recommendation is begin to think consciously. Now, not everyone really thinks that we can control our thoughts. So I want you to, just for a moment, imagine that you have a magic bag. And imagine that in this magic bag are the memories of everything that has ever happened in your whole life. You might want to imagine that they're like little tiny pieces of paper or little bits of pretty rocks that are filling your bag. Now, if you just open the bag and look inside, it's all jumbled. It's all mixed up, right? You can't really make out what's what in the bag. But if you take out one memory at a time, it becomes crystal clear. It reveals itself to you. One by one, the memories come and you see them individually. If you grab pieces of paper randomly, if you grab these little shining bits of memories randomly from your magic bag, you will have random thoughts. That's what happens when we're just dealing with the unconscious. It's just a pile of thoughts available to us, constantly popping up, constantly demanding our attention. Now, imagine that this bag is so magic that you can find a specific memory in it. Find your first day of school. Find a memory of your favorite shoes. Find the memory of the last child you spoke to. Find the memory of a book you enjoyed. Find a memory of a person who was friendly to you. Find a memory of riding on an elevator. Now, what happened when I told you to pull specific memories out of your magic bag? You thought of these memories, didn't you? You thought of certain thoughts, not random thoughts, right? You see, this is a demonstration of the fact that we actually can control our thoughts. The idea that our thoughts control us seems true on a day-to-day level. For instance, it seems to be true when we worry about something or someone. In fact, the world hasn't just been going through a coronavirus pandemic. The world has also been going through an anxiety pandemic. On the day-to-day level, if you're not careful, it can seem like there's something awful happening somewhere all of the time. But on an underlying level, on a deep level, actually, there is good everywhere. This good, I call it God or divine spirit. You might call it creative energy or life. This good is always yearning to be in expression. It's always seeking to be noticed. And that's our job. That's your job. Notice the good and praise it. Just like pulling up specific memory out of that magic bag. When you notice the good and praise it, you begin to, how can I say it, power up your thinking. Change your thinking. And this positive thinking, these positive thoughts that you are treasuring, paying attention to, begin to fill your mind and begin to create actually a new pattern in your life. These positive thoughts actually create positive tendencies in our lives. Notice the good. Praise it. Give thanks for it. And you will find actually that as you do it, this sense of, let's call it light, this sense of being in contact with your inner light grows more and more powerful, brilliant, magnificent, until you actually are emanating light and love through every action you take, through every word you speak. When you think of people, you begin to think of them with compassion instead of comparing yourself to them or passing judgment on them. When you think of activities and tasks that need to be done, you think of them with excitement instead of anxiety. And you begin shifting your life into a more and more positive life. So as each of us becomes more positive in our approach to living, it's as if we're sharing it. It's as if we're planting seeds of positivity, which must bloom, which must bear fruit. Just like if you roll up a snowball, you get a snowball. If you think a positive thought, you get a positive reaction. That's the truth about living in the day-to-day world. What we do, what we think, does have consequences. So, on the day-to-day level, for me, I can take charge of my closet. I can create a more peaceful and organized space. I can choose what I want and share what I don't want anymore that is still good, and just discard whatever is useless or worn out. I can do the same thing with my thoughts. I can create a peaceful mind by organizing my thoughts, paying attention, keeping handy those positive thoughts. You know, we talk about the very simple spiritual practice of simply writing down a gratitude list of simply thinking through, taking a moment to say aloud, to write down, to acknowledge and praise those things that you see, that you are grateful for, that you do enjoy. The sunshine, the wonderful living plants, the animal world, the glory of the heavens at night, the friends that we have had throughout our whole lives, everything that we have been able to learn, maybe just the fact that you know how to read, maybe the fact that you just have the capacity to go on a computer or a smartphone or be able to use the internet for any type of useful purpose. There are so many things to be grateful for. When you begin to fill your mind with gratitude, you will experience a shift. A shift in your life. You know, I promise you it's true. And it's going to be different for every person because each of us is unique. You know, we're not clones. Like you can go to the store here in the United States, and at every store you can get a Gala apple, and they're pretty similar. No, we're not like Gala apples. We're not all clones. We're very different. We're individualized. Each one of us thinks something different. Each one of us has the capacity to imagine something beautiful. Each one of us has the capacity to plant these thought seeds in our own special way. You know, we often like to look at art. So this is a picture that I found of a pointillist, a French painting. And it is celebrating the joy of life. It's his idea of a beautiful day, a day of happiness. People on the shore, in the park, having fun. That's this particular painter's idea of a joyous day. What's your idea? What's your idea of a joyous day? What's your idea of something that you would like to praise? We must take charge of our own thoughts. Each of us needs to consciously cultivate our very own peaceful and harmonious mental state where we can settle down enough to get in touch with our very own higher self, our very own inner light. We need to just settle down enough to get the clarity and the peace to actually begin to choose our thoughts. To choose to focus our minds on positive memories, positive relationships, on seeing the potential for abundance and healing everywhere. Spend some time thinking about the fundamental truth that there is good for you, that you ought to have it, that this power for good is available to us, and we can use it as we choose. So choose consciously. As Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is within. And he also said, my Father's house has many mansions, much variety, all with the possibility of wonderment and good. The fact is, the truth is, you and I are always using this power for good, consciously or unconsciously. It always says yes. Life says yes to us. So if we choose unconsciously to use the power for good in negative ways, it still says yes. If we fill our minds with worry, anxiety, and thoughts of hopelessness, this divine mind still says yes, because it loves us. Whatever we want, that is the tendency that is created. So, take control. Choose your thoughts. And when thoughts pop up that you don't like, don't worry about it. You can say, oh, no, I didn't really mean that. Erase that thought. Wipe out that thought. Think to yourself the true thought, the new thought, the good thought, the forward thought, the thought you choose. Praise it. Know it's possible. There's good for you, and this good is shareable. In fact, the more you share it, the more you shed your light out into the world, the more you share your good with others, you will find that your life is also blessed, because there is this eternal circle of life. It's almost as if you create a new snowball, right? A snowball of love, of kindness, of prosperity, of health, a new tendency. It grows, it manifests itself. And this time, get right in there. Accept it. Enjoy it. Let bygones be bygones. Don't beat yourself up because something or other went wrong, or you said something. Maybe that wasn't perfect. You did something, or even that someone else might have hurt your feelings or caused you harm. Live in the now, this moment. Seize it, enjoy it, relish it. Celebrate the deepest truth, that the good you are seeking is seeking you. As you focus your thoughts in this way, something amazing happens. You become a light unto the world. So, what more can I say? Praise the day. Find your way. There's good for you. You deserve it. Let's all share in it now. If you'd like to learn more about the New Thought teaching, you can go to our website. You can do a search for Centers for Spiritual Living for New Thought. It's a beautiful day. Enjoy it. Thank you so much.